Hello and welcome in. I'm your host, Pat Bradley, alongside my friend and co-host, Carl Mother Bleepin' Man. And this is the Three-Man Rush Podcast, America's most beloved casual NFL gambling podcast from at least one super casual NFL gambler. I don't know about you, Carl. Tommy's not here to make fun of me here this week. We are one man down. We are two-man rushing it. But after last week, the incredible performance and really the abysmal performance by me, there's a clear delineation between who is the casual gambler. Well, for certain people listening, let's just say you're also a casual gambler. But hello, welcome to week 10, buddy. Happy to have you.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Last week I was under the weather. I was a little nervous about my picks, and it ended up being not only a double-digit win week for me, but we made some personal history with a 8-team, 8-leg parlay. It was a great payout. We should just start it off with a parlay party right now. We should just get it going.
Just start. Do you want to start with a bang? You know, in Tommy's absence, I'm really looking forward to the dancing portion because I'm like, if you guys don't watch us on YouTube, you should definitely watch us on YouTube. And at the very least, you should follow us on Instagram at 3Man Rush. Spell it all out because we post the parlay party, the dance section every single week, and we finally got Tommy to start dancing, and it is entertaining. The apathy that he has is so funny. So I think in his honor, I'm gonna have to do my best impression of that later.
I think so. Yeah, this is gonna be the most relaxed parlay party. We're just gonna get the hands involved a little bit.
Just twirl your finger around. Woo!
Yeah, woo! Maybe I sound a little different too because we did upgrade to a new microphone thanks to my extra winnings. I decided also if we're gonna start winning bets and posting TikToks and Instagram reels, we got to change the whole format here. So we got a little backlight, we got a new microphone, so we sound good. It is No Shave November, so this isn't going anywhere anytime soon. But you know,
otherwise everything looks great.
Everything is exactly the same as the same old podcast, minus Tommy.
Same old podcast, same old podcasters. Because once again, I just brought us to a brand new low in week 9. I didn't check the tape to last season, but this may well be the worst week anybody's ever had. So we were down a couple games. So like, I didn't even have an opportunity to, maybe steal a couple more wins, but it didn't matter because last week during our 13-game schedule, I lost 9 of those games and we pushed one. So I have the lowest win total of the season. Tommy had 4 back in week 6, but I went 3-9-1 this week. So really, really abysmal week. And yet I didn't even realize it. So for those of you not us, not listening at home, we track all of our bets in a spreadsheet. We kind of update them as we go along. And I hadn't made the spreadsheet yet. I think you asked me at I don't know, sometime in the second quarter of the 1:00 games, Carl, hey, can you throw that spreadsheet together? I was like, oh yeah, sorry. So I just forgot what I bet, blacked out, had no idea. I literally was at one point when we started, I was 0-8-1 on the day. Okay.
The worst part is you thought you were 0-7-1.
I know. And you're like, actually, it's 8.
Had to be
forgot
one.
So I was.
And meanwhile, I was just chilling. And then I was I have the opposite record.
You were incredible, on fire. I didn't even I thought I was having a decent week. Clearly not. I bounced back, so I went 3-1 over the last 4 games of the week. Good job by me, I guess. But almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. But really, I think I was so invested in that Rams Buccaneers game because that was the final leg that you needed to hit for that parlay. You made us aware of it. We had a conversation about cashing out. We talked about who cashes out. We won't say those words on the podcast. But needless to say, you did not, and the 8-leg parlay hit. And I was so excited. I literally, I was on my way to pick up dinner for my wife and I, and she was like, my food's going to be cold. And I was like, I don't care. Carl's going to win. Like, I feel like when Carl wins, we all win. Not literally. Like, I'm not knocking on your door asking for cash, but I felt like I won with you. So it really made up for my 3-win week last week.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the support. I know it hurt a little bit because I was like on the Bucs. I think you actually were you on the Bucs or were you?
I was. Tommy
Rams?
was on.
So Tommy was on the
Rams.
opposite side. Tommy was on the complete opposite side of both of the last two legs.
Right.
The Seahawks wasn't really a doubt. Well, give or take. There were some times in there where I was a little stressed, but the Bucs, like having to make that last drive at the end of the game was crazy. And I was over at Kay's family house, and her mom left to like go do something. She left the house as the Bucs were driving before they had to get the ball back. So that second to last drive. Mm-hmm. So like she was there, then she left. And I was like, whatever. I was so mad. I like got up and stood, and they were like wondering why I was so stressed out. Cause I didn't tell anyone there, especially, cause of the circumstances. And as soon as, the Rams got the ball back. So again, like the Rams' last possession before they punted it away, mm-hmm. I showed Dante that I needed the one last leg of the parlay, and he realized why I was so invested in the game. So he was rooting for me for a little bit, but I'm so superstitious. So I'm like standing there in one spot. Danielle comes home and I yell out the window. I'm like, you have to stay outside. Like the Bucs are driving down the field. I was like, go take the trash out or something. Kay's making cookies and the timer is like about to go off. She's like, the cookies are going to burn. I'm like, you got to keep them in the oven.
Burn
like,
the damn. We can buy new cookies.
Yeah. With the money that we're about to win, we can buy all the cookies you want. So they were like actually like secretly like, cause we were on a little bit of a delay. They were like following along on their phone and like sneaky, like doing stuff because they already knew that the Bucs had scored that touchdown. Gotcha. So they like took the cookies out. But yeah, I was celebrating hard on that last drive. But it was never a doubt. It was Tom Brady. You knew it was going to happen. So.
Of course. Listen, the joys of gambling. We don't talk about the lows. We just talk about the highs.
Exactly.
That was certainly one of them. So really just a win for the whole family. Extended family, friends included. I was very happy for you. And on top of that, you had a remarkable 10-2-1 week. So like, I was ready to come in and I was going to say, all right, like it's over for you bitches. I'm locking in. I'm turning it around. The next 9 weeks of the season, I'm taking over. I'm going to come back. I'm going to have the greatest story ever told, 28-3. Pat's going to win this season for the 3-man rush. And then I lost 9 games and you won 10. And I think it's just over for me. Like I'm going to show up every week. I'm going to host, but I think the competition is squarely over. Like, congrats to you. Congrats on the season victory. It's week 10. You've locked it up. Congratulations, buddy.
Yeah. I'm trying to like mentally do some math and like figure out like there's 18 weeks in the season, like obviously 7 game weeks for the teams, but there's 18 betting weeks plus the playoffs. So there's just over 20 weeks. I'm wondering if I can get to 200 wins. I'm wondering if I can get to 200 correct picks by the end of the season. It would be tough because that is just under 10 wins per week. If you think about like the wild card week, the divisional, the conference, and then the Super Bowl, and those games get smaller and smaller. It's very, very unlikely, but now I have something. Now I have a goal in mind. If I can get 9 wins a week, I can get pretty close.
So halfway through the regular season here, you are sitting at 74, 57, and 5. So as unlikely as it is for me to come back and win the season, I don't know. You would have to be.
All right, let's say 175. Let's go.
You would have to be as remarkable as I would be to win. You would have to be more remarkable, I think, to hit 200 wins on the season. But it's not out of the question for you. I mean, you've had 3 9-win weeks, a 10-win week, and an 11-win week. So I don't know if you average 10 the rest of the way. That's another 90, though. 10 wins every week the rest of the regular season. That would get you at 165. So is there enough playoff games? How many playoff games do we have?
maybe next week on the podcast we'll figure out how many
this math. Yeah,
we'll figure out how many games are left. What's the possibility of me getting to that number, and like realistically with my winning percentage, how many games should I shoot for to win?
And while we're at it, I think we just need to come up with like the magic number for me to be like pretend it's baseball. Like when do I get mathematically eliminated from the podcast? Combined losses by me and wins by you. That's what we need to figure out here because it's coming up. I'm like literally. So let's just recap these records here. So you are 74, 57, and 5. Tommy, who was kind of holding close with you early on there, has fallen off. He is 62, 69, and 5. And I am just the papoose in the caboose, as always, 55, 76, and 5. I was telling actually, so in our other, our personal lives and our fantasy football lives and all those things, we have a pick'em pool, which you historically forget about by week 2 or 3 every season. So you had a nice little, like, I don't know, I think you went like 9-6 in week 1, even though you went 6-10 against the spread on the pod in week 1. What a long time since that. When I went 7-9, you were in last place after week 1. And now look at us, crazy.
Forgot how that happened.
Yeah. I try to remember little things that I can hold on to. But so you're long out of this pick'em pool. But I was talking to Tommy and producer Dan, who are the other two who have remembered to make their picks. I missed a week. Tommy missed a week. Dan then missed a week. Overall, this season, I'm 81-55 straight up. So like, I'm holding on to that 26 games above 500 because it's all I have left. I promise I'm not a complete moron. I do watch football. Vegas just has me in a chokehold this season. I would say this season is drunk, but that's an insult to how good you're performing. So I don't know. I guess we just got to figure it out. I got to figure it out moving forward. But yeah, you're 19 games ahead of me in the standings right now, which is pretty bad.
Or pretty good.
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty good for you. Pretty bad for me. Great. While we're talking about these records, we can hop on over to Dollar Bill Island. At this point, I think you've made enough passive income from your rental property, Carl, that you should be looking at a new island. So
I've doubled down on my islands.
Yeah, literally, like it's not just an investment property anymore. You've gone from like a week-long vacation to like maybe I should buy this place to all right, like I can do some weekend getaways for myself. Now you're renting it out to me and Tommy. Now Tommy and I are just banned. We're not even allowed on the island because you're renting it out to like Mark Cuban at this point. And you're investing in another property on another island. You won this week once again. You had 3 dollar bill islands. Tommy had 2. He's kind of staying in the race. Not really though. And once again, I had 0. I had so many opportunities last week. Like I took the heavy favorites, the best teams in the NFL, the Bills, the Eagles. I had a ton of dollar bill island opportunities, and I missed every single one of them. So big old
as opposed to the week before where you had no opportunities, you had plenty of opportunities this week, and they were just
and I still went over. So like over the last 2 weeks for completely different reasons. And a big old goose egg for me. So on the season, you have 26 of those. Tommy has 14, and I am still stuck on 9 dollar bill islands. That you know what? That's my favorite number. It's my lucky number. So maybe I'll just like not have a dollar bill island the rest of the season. Peeking ahead at some of our picks, I have a feeling I'm not going to get many opportunities even this week. I think we're all pretty aligned if I had to guess. So with that said, what do you say we just dive in? And now that you just dive in 15 minutes into the podcast and start talking about the games. Yeah,
for sure. I love to do that. Obviously we're going to give Tommy's picks and a little bit of an insight if he gave us any. So we'll still get Tommy's picks on here in addition to ours, because he did give us our picks. So
love it. All right. And of course, if you're listening to this, we're actually recording on Thursday night this week. Be sure to go back and check out, make sure you're following us on Instagram at 3Man Rush, spell it out, because right after we record this podcast on Thursday, we're actually going to go live and talk about Thursday Night Football before it happens. So you don't want to miss out. We try to do that every so often, once in a while, at least once a week, maybe we're going to get into that schedule. We'll figure it out. But we're going live, so we're not even going to talk about Thursday Night Football here, unless you just want to briefly just say what we wound up picking for Thursday night, because by the time people listen to it, it'll be over, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to record 2 different takes here, and then after the game happens and I edit it, I'll just fill in the correct winning pick here.
Amazing.
No.
I love that.
Wouldn't that be great if we could just do that every time?
Yeah, totally.
I'm going to go with the
my
Panthers
record would
here.
be so sorry. My record would, like, if we did that and I still had this record, man, what a kick in the face. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
We would be like unstoppable on primetime. Just the Thursday games. To be like, wow, they get every Thursday game right, but they also release their podcast on Friday.
The Thursday night kids.
But hopefully I'm right with this one take. I'm going to go with the Panthers here. I do think it's going to be a close game. I wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers win it. They should have won. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that because it took a Hail Mary basically play to get it to overtime. Even though they missed the extra point, would cause it to go to overtime. I don't know. I just see it being a close game. It's the second time they've played in 2 weeks, literally. And the last time went to overtime, divisional game. So I do think it's going to be close. I'm going to lean towards the Panthers here. So give me the Panthers plus the points. They're at home. My spreadsheet does have the Falcons winning by 1. I have the score projected at 24-23. So I would take probably the over in this game if I had to. But again, I'm just going to stick with the Panthers here plus the 2.5. And I'll let you explain your pick and then Tommy's.
Yeah, so Tommy and I are going to be in agreement here. We're both taking the Falcons. Tommy likes the under in this one. I'm taking the over, mostly because you were taking the over for it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, like, listen, the total here is so we didn't even mention. So Falcons are in Carolina. Falcons are favored by 2.5 points. Total's 41.5 points. So I'm going with the Falcons. I just think that total's pretty low. We saw what these two teams can do, against each other just 2 weeks ago. So I like the over. Your prediction kind of makes sense to me. Like second divisional matchup, definitely easy to say the scoring might drop. These teams know each other a little bit better. Maybe there's a little bit more defense involved. But I still think they're going to score enough to hit that over. So I'm going with the Falcons. Tommy's also taking the Falcons. I don't hate the Panthers. I was really tempted to take them. And all I'll say is, like, I probably would have bet the Panthers if they hit +4. Like if it was Falcons by 4, I would have bet the Panthers. I would have been on the other side. That's kind of where the value line was for me. So we don't need to spend much more time on it because the game already happened by the time people are listening to it. But now you know what we would have done. We're going to talk about that in a little while on Instagram Live. So hopefully when you're listening to this, you caught us on Instagram in the past. Crazy, talking about the future, but also the past at the same time.
Wild.
My mind is blown. So let's just dive right in. What we're calling primetime games, right? I think I count the international games as primetime.
Yeah.
And it just gives primetime Carl an opportunity to make some more picks. So we've got the first ever NFL game played in Germany this week, where our Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the quote-unquote home team. They're favored by 3, while the upstart 6-3 Seahawks, led by none other than MVP candidate Geno Smith, are their opponent. So they're getting 3 points. The total in this one is 44.5. And again, it's in Germany. I think we've got a clean sweep here. So I don't mind leading us off.
Sure.
I'm going with the Seahawks. I kind of felt like the Seahawks actually should have been the favorite. When I went through and I looked at the lines, I mean, I shouldn't be surprised that Tom Brady is favored, right? I think it opened as like Bucs by 1 or 2, and that has since moved up to 3. The line shifted a bunch this week. But because I just felt like the Seahawks should be favored by 2.5 to 3 points, seeing them getting 3 points is like a imaginary 6-point swing in my favor. So it just felt like there was value there. The Seahawks are a good team, and the Bucs have been struggling both to score and to prevent other teams from scoring. Granted, we just saw them hold the Rams to, what was it, like 13 points last week, but I don't think the Rams are very good. So I don't know. I like the Seahawks. I like Geno. I like what they're doing. And I mean, if this is not just a great spot for a team, essentially on national television, international television, against Tom Brady, to make a statement and really announce themselves for the playoffs and like really put a hold at the top of their division, fighting to make it to the playoffs. I don't know. I love the spot for the Seahawks, and I think they're going to probably. I think they'll cover, obviously, but I think they can win the game. So I'm going with the Seahawks. I know Tommy agreed. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And, I'm not sure if like the line is moving because of what the Bucs did at the end of the game. It's almost like recency bias, like we talk about. That could be their turnaround. And the Seahawks have played really well this year. So again, I might be overvaluing them a little bit here as well, but I think the Seahawks should be 3-point favorites as well, like 24-21, which would be right on line with like the over under of 44.5. It's 45. So anytime you have, or for me, anytime I have like a projected score that falls in line with the over under, I feel really good about it because I'm in line with Vegas. Obviously the spread doesn't line up. Like there's a 6-point differential from what I think versus what Vegas thinks, but I'm hoping that's just a little bit of an overreaction. They're trying to get people to pay for that like Brady premium that we used to see because he was doing so well. He had that turnaround game last week. So I'm going to stick with the Seahawks here. Obviously, like kind of emotionally, I'll be rooting for the Bucs just as they're my team, but second team. But yeah, we're all on the Seahawks here. I think we all have similar reasons.
Yeah. I listen, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Buccaneers pull this one out. Like I can't quit Tom Brady. I don't think I even mentioned it on the podcast. I did a little parlay a couple weeks ago of teams to win their division. It's not looking as great for me right now because I think I might have had the Bills in there. We'll talk about them a little bit later and what's going on. But I bet the Bucs to win. So I don't know. Bucs and 49ers were in that parlay. Maybe I'll check it out at some point during this podcast and share that. But yeah, it's a fun game. Seahawks are one of probably the better teams this season. They're a lot of fun to watch, and we love Tom Brady. We can't quit him. So I'm with you.
Yeah, I do think something that I am looking at is both teams to score 20 or more points is plus 130. So it could go under if it's a 20-21 game, whatever, 20-23. Something like that could fall under, but you'd still win this bet. So if you think it's going to go over, I think this is a smart bet anyway. Both teams 20 or more, because either way, if you're getting the over, you're probably thinking that both teams are going to score your 20 to get over that 44.5, unless, again, you think it's going to be a bigger margin of victory for one team. But in a closer game with the spread or the line at 44.5, I think 20 or more for both teams is a good bet here as well if you want to mess around with that.
Love it. Love it. Always dropping nuggets of advice on this podcast. You got to listen to what Carl's got to say week in and week out. Hopefully this is a future Instagram reel. We're predicting success here. We love to see it.
Always.
All right. We're going to jump right over to Sunday Night Football, where the LA Chargers are headed to San Francisco to take on the 49ers, where the Niners are favored by 7. Total here is 45.5 points. Carl, why don't you lead us off on this one?
Yeah, I'll take the Chargers right off the bat, taking the points. It's been my MO for the longest time is that you got to take the points. Even if you don't think that team's going to win, there's always a chance for a cover. And at 7 points, I don't think that's the margin of victory here. So I have the 49ers winning by like 4-5. 24-19 is my official prediction. So again, I'm just going to make score predictions on every single game in the hopes that I like get 1 out of 13, 14, 15 right, and we can again throw it up on social media. Any way to get
really good.
Yeah, any way to get like people listening to this podcast, we'll get them in. So,
which by the way, if you're at home listening to this podcast right now and you've even made it this far, like you're listening and you're 24 minutes into the podcast, do us a favor and like send it to like 3 people. Like maybe they like football, maybe they don't like football, but they like gambling. Maybe they like neither, but they just need some background noise at work. Shout out to Geraldine, our biggest fan, Geraldine, besides the moms, who just puts us
We
on
never shouted
noise.
out the moms today.
Oh my God, we didn't shout out the mom. All right, we're going to have a special mom section.
Hello and welcome.
Cut the tape, start the podcast over. I just hit my mic. I don't know what's going on. So sorry, moms. Shout out to, hi, mom. You want to say hi to your mom? I don't know if your mom listens.
I'll say hi to my mom.
What's up, Linda?
I will say hi to your mom, and I think we've done a very good job so far in the first 25 minutes, keeping it relatively PG. So this may be the first shareable podcast.
Oh my God. Seriously. Like I might not get a text with like a soap emoji or a gift. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We should probably stop talking about moms if we're going to keep it PG for my mom to promote. But hi, Mom.
Zach Wilson is on a bye this week, so the moms are safe. Or they're not safe.
Don't tempt me, Carl. Don't tempt me. We've been good for 25 minutes.
All right.
I'm gonna let a sleeping dog lie there. Unlike Zach Wilson. There it goes. Just get all right.
We're gonna leave this whole thing in, but back to my prediction. 49ers win 24-19, which does not cover the spread. So I'm not opposed to anyone taking the 49ers here. Not saying that the Chargers won't win, but I'm just going to take the cover. And if they win, that's obviously nice for me. I just don't have it projected as a win for the Chargers. So I'm going to take the points here and pass it over to you for your side.
All right. So once again, Tommy and I are in agreement, which I think is going to be a theme here tonight. I don't know if that's good or bad. We'll find out on Sunday. But I like the 49ers here. Here's just kind of what I have for you. So in the games that the 49ers have won this season, they've won by 20, 15, 22, and 17. So when they win by a lot. In games the Chargers have lost, they've lost 3 games this year. I think 3 games. They've lost by 3. That was early on in the season before Justin Herbert got hurt. And then they lost by 18 and 14 points, respectively. So 2 out of 3 times that they've lost big. So that kind of support, like I think the 49ers are just going to win this game. The question for me comes down to whether or not they're going to cover. So history this season is on my side. And then a little bit more of information here, because I think this is maybe a prop that you want to consider when you're doing this. All right. The Chargers have given up 12 touchdowns to running backs in 8 games this season, including 3 receiving touchdowns. So 9 on the ground, 3 receiving, 2 running backs alone. Opposing running backs against the Chargers averaging 134 rushing yards per game, 29 receiving yards per game, 163 yards net alone just to running backs this season, okay? Can we just all remember who the 49ers just acquired at the trade deadline? It's Christian McCaffrey. This is the Christian McCaffrey show. The Chargers and their really poor linebacking crew are going to be in the spin cycle in hell all night on Sunday on national television. I think the Niners win in a blowout, which is why I'm taking them. That said, looking at the value for me, 7 was kind of where I drew the line. I don't love taking big spreads. You've seen me do it a lot this season, and I think that is reflective in my poor record at the bottom of the standings. So I don't love the huge spreads. If it was even like a hook here, 7.5, I'd probably take the Chargers. That's the value line, but because we don't have the hook right now, as we're doing the podcast, I am going with the 49ers to cover because I think they're going to win, and they're going to win big. If I lose, it's because it was a close game and the Chargers probably won outright. That's my guess.
Yeah, and Tommy is in agreement with you. I'm not sure his actual reasoning, but have fun being on the same side as Tommy. Maybe it works out for you, and maybe it doesn't.
Fair enough. All right. Moving over to Monday Night Football, we have the Washington Commanders headed to Philadelphia to take on the still undefeated Eagles. Eagles here are 10.5-point favorites as of the time that we pulled the lines. I think it's actually moved to 11 since then, but we're rolling with 10.5 because that's what Tommy had when he sent his picks in before the recording of the podcast. So 10.5-point favorites for the Eagles. Total here is 44 points. Carl, I'm gonna let you take this one first this time.
Yeah, for sure. I don't usually like big spreads like this. I have a couple spreadsheets and they all actually have me taking the Eagles. So I do think there's a discrepancy between like the quality of play between the Eagles and the Commanders. Even though we had the Commanders last week in a field goal game versus the Vikings. So I project this to be more of like a 2-touchdown game. 11 is like, again, a tough number to cover. They could be up by 2 touchdowns and let their foot off the gas and then give up a touchdown late for no reason. But I'm going to project the score at 27-13 for the Eagles, which does cover that spread. Another spreadsheet I had did have it at an 11-point game. So I don't know. It is right there kind of on that borderline. But again, that makes me feel good about it. I don't know the exact statistic. But in division games, usually at like week 10 or later, you do want to take the under most times, which does usually lead to like picking an underdog to cover a spread because it's going to be a closer game usually. But also in general, if you have spreads that are like 9.5 or higher, which this game qualifies for, a lot of times that will go under as well because the team will get up big and then take their foot off the gas, or the other team will play better defense, keep it a lower scoring game and keep it tight. And that usually leads to the under as well. So, again, I'm not saying that I'm picking the over or the under in general, but again, my 27-13 does have that falling on the under for the over under 44. So Eagles covering the spread, but I do think under is not a bad bet either if you are kind of on the fence in this game.
So I feel like I'm going to regret this one. And Tommy is on your side. This is one of the few times this week that he and I are going to disagree. And now that I see that you're picking the Eagles, I don't feel great about my pick. But I'm actually going to go with the Commanders here because Taylor Heineke, the Green Lizard, that's our quarterback now in Washington. Okay. And in the 3 games that Heineke has been the starter or played recently, and I think that first game he played the majority of the game when Carson Wentz got hurt, or at least a full like half maybe. It's just been tight, close games. I think that team has more confidence with Taylor Heineke. I think he's a better leader for them. I think Carson Wentz dribbles his shit down his pants when he faces a good pass rush like the Eagles have. And listen, I don't think that the Commanders are going to contain Jalen Hurts by any means. And I definitely think that they're going to have to, the Eagles can win in the air. I think they're going to have to, but I do think they can slow Jalen Hurts down a little bit. They held them to only 20 rushing yards in their first matchup earlier this season. That was a 24-8 Eagles win. So it doesn't really help me spread wise here. But again, I just think like the Carson Wentz to Taylor Heineke jump is going to mean more here. And again, second time you're playing your divisional opponent, I think there's always a little bit less scoring. If we can get a little bit of defense, a little bit of, rallying behind Heineke. I mean, the Commanders themselves certainly have, right? They're advertising season tickets for next season with Taylor Heineke as the guy on the advertisement. Wow. It doesn't feel great if you're Carson Wentz right now. So listen, you're giving me 10.5 points. I think it's going to be close. Okay. I don't think the final score is going to be close, but I do think when you add on the points that I'm getting by taking the Commanders, we're going to have a much closer game. So we'll see how it goes for me. I'm probably going to regret it. I've been on the wrong side of a big Eagles spread twice in a row now. So why not make it 3? Perfect 3-0 or 0-3. But I'm going with the Commanders. I like Taylor Heineke. He's not a great quarterback, but people like him. I think that matters in football. You need leaders, especially at that position. And we'll see how it goes this week.
Yeah, I don't hate that side of it. So good luck. Wonderful. Best of luck to you. And we'll see how it goes next week.
Man, you're like the guy, man. Like it's like the meme, like dressed up. Like you went to your hater's funeral just to make sure he was dead. That's like the vibe I just got from you right now. Yeah. All right. Well, good luck to you. I'll see you.
Well, we have to wait all the way until Monday night to see how this plays out. So
I know. It's a long ways away. All right. I will add here. So we didn't get a lot of explanations from Tommy. He gave us his picks. I did leave one of them out. I just want to circle back here before we leave Primetime City. Tommy just wanted to mention he was on Seattle. I think he's lost like a million Seattle bets or like picks this season. And I keep saying why would anybody listen to me as far back in the dump as I am? But I keep saying listen, the Seahawks are good. So Tommy finally decided, he said he's done not believing in Seattle because it's been his biggest blind spot all year, which only tells me that the Bucs are going to win and I'm going to get fucked. We're all going to get fucked. So,
yep.
Cool. Good job by us. All right. Swerving our way out of primetime city, we are heading into what should have been, still might be, the non-primetime game of the week. And that is when my Minnesota Vikings, the one-loss Minnesota Vikings. Yes, I like that, Kirk. I like that. They're headed to Buffalo to take on the Bills, where in a drastic turn of events, the Bills are only favored by 3.5 points here. We're going to talk about why. The over-under is 43.5 points. I'm making the bold choice this week, but I'm going to lead off with Tommy's pick, and I'm going to tell you why. He's going with the Buffalo Bills, and he decided to do that knowing that they may not have MVP frontrunner Josh Allen at the helm. Apparently, Josh Allen suffered an injury last week in week 9 to his throwing elbow. It's in his ulnar collateral ligament, which, if you're not familiar with that, if you're a baseball fan, you've probably heard of Tommy John surgery. You may not know what that means, but it's bad, right? Ulnar collateral ligament is when that tears, that's when you need Tommy John surgery. It's a huge injury, and it's really bad for NFL quarterbacks. Obviously, right? You're throwing the ball, but like we see pitchers in baseball bounce back after a year away to get surgery and rehab from Tommy John. We don't really see that happen a lot for quarterbacks. It happened at the end of Ben Roethlisberger's career, and we know that he looked like a corpse at the end. Not saying it's directly related, not saying it's not directly related. You be the judge. But regardless, it's bad news. This line opened as Bills by 7.5 point favorites. I was very excited to take all of those points with the Vikings and just see how they can perform. But I don't really know what to do with it now. So we'll get to my pick in a minute. But Tommy likes the Bills and decided he was rolling with the Bills no matter what, Josh Allen or not, because this is a spot where we find out if the Vikings are legit and if the Bills are legit. It's kind of a test your mettle, next man up kind of game. And in his defense, Case Keenum took the Vikings to the NFC Championship game just a few seasons ago. And Stephon Diggs was a member of that Vikings team. So am I listen, to go full Tommy here, am I afraid of the revenge game narrative?
Yes.
Back up Case Keenum, torching the ex-team with ex-teammate, current teammate Stephon Diggs. Yeah, I'm terrified. But Tommy's taking the Bills. Clearly, I'm terrified because I'm taking the Vikings here. I wish I was getting more points, but if Josh Allen's not playing, I just don't think I really fully believe in Case Keenum. And the Bills after last week clearly have some flaws. So, Carl, why don't you walk me through what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a closer game, little lower scoring than like what you would typically see for the Bills, with a 27-17 win. Whether Josh Allen plays or not, I do think it's a lose-lose game for the Vikings, because if they win the game, whether Josh Allen plays and is hurt, that's going to be the excuse. If he doesn't play, that's going to be the excuse. They beat a team that doesn't have the MVP quarterback of the season. So sure, they'll end up being 7-1 or whatever the record is at that point. But they'd be a fraud 7-1 based on everyone they've beat because this quarterback is hurt, that whatever situation. And if they lose the game, then they're not good enough to beat a team that didn't have their MVP quarterback. So it's a lose-lose for the Vikings either way, I think. If you're a Vikings fan or looking at the Vikings season, I just think they have nothing to gain from this game at all. I am going to lay the points regardless of who's at quarterback. I'm considering just taking the Bills straight up, maybe with some other picks right now before the line and the odds do change once the Josh Allen announcement comes out, because I do think it's dropped down in anticipation that he's not going to play, because I don't think he's been practicing at all. It's very uncertain that he's going to play. But the drop off to Case Keenum, while it is a huge drop off, the points that you made where he has, NFL experience recently in bigger games, it's going against the team that he's played for. He has a weapon that he's had on a previous team, and it's not just a scrub third, fourth receiver or whatever tight end. It's the number one receiver on this team. He could easily go out there and put up 150 yards and carry this team. Case Keenum could throw for 200 yards, and 150 of them could be to Stephon Diggs. So I I'm sure they'll try and figure it out. Maybe they'll rally to play behind like Josh Allen, whether he's playing or not. Kind of like, hey, we can show that we can win this game on defense, or we can like move the ball in other ways without just Josh Allen running. And you know, I'm gonna take the Bills here if it's not obvious, laying the points with Tommy. So giving you the island here, which I guess is a good island for you to have, all things considered. With the only time you're gonna get no Josh Allen potentially, you might as well take the points. So there you are.
All right, let's move on because the Dallas Cowboys are favored in Lambeau Field. Avert your eyes, PTSD suffering Dallas Cowboys fan. Hashtag it was a catch. But this week, different team, different season, different spread. The Cowboys are favored by 4.5 points against the Packers in Lambeau Field. Total here is 44. I don't mind leading us off. So Tommy and I both agree. We're rolling with the Dallas Cowboys this week. I think they're clearly just a better team. The Packers, Carl, I think you sent me the video. Aaron Rodgers was on whose podcast? Von Miller's, basically asking, well, maybe you remember, you could tell it a little bit better, but it sounds like he just doesn't really trust his wide receivers, which if you've watched any of the Packers games this season, you would know. I tend to think that the Packers are just done. I think they're not only not going to win that division with Minnesota up there at 7-1. I think the Packers might not make the playoffs. And I don't know, Aaron Rodgers could walk away off into the sunset or get traded for a couple more years. Brady-esque, right? I mean, maybe Brady goes to San Francisco and Rodgers goes to Tampa Bay. I don't know. I'm just making shit up now. But either way, I like the Packers. I like the Cowboys. And only favored by 4.5. I really thought that they would be favored by more. I thought it would be heavier, which gives me a little bit of pause. But whatever, screw you, Vegas. I'm taking the Cowboys, and I would probably take them all the way up to 7. Once there's a hook, I don't love it based on what we saw Rodgers do to the Bills a couple weeks ago. I don't think the Packers are good, but I think they're good enough to cover bigger spreads. So if we only have to lay 4.5 here, I'm pretty comfortable taking that. Yeah.
I mean, I know you're nervous about like taking them up to 7, but that's exactly where I have it at 23-16. So me, you, Tommy, all on the Cowboys. Eric Davis, who gave you a shout out in the other like Kayla's side of the family group chat. Even though
Eric, shout out to Eric.
Shout out Big Red Davis. Yeah, we're gonna take the Cowboys for you this week, and hopefully it's a more than a 4.5 point win for you guys.
Love it. Easy peasy. All right. Let's move on because my Arizona Cardinals are in LA to take on the Rams. Rams are 1.5 point favorites in this game, and the total is 40.5. Listen, we are well documented on my success betting the Cardinals last season. It has not been the same. It's been very much a roller coaster. Have the Cardinals done anything twice in a row this season? I don't know. I would have to check the tape to see if that has happened. But I don't know. I just kind of like the Cardinals in this spot, mainly because I don't like the Rams. I felt like the Cardinals should have opened as even like a 1 point favorite, probably up to 2.5 point favorites. So the Rams being 1.5 point favorites here, I like. I would take so the Cardinals are getting a 1.5 right now. I would take the Cardinals all the way across 0 to -2.5 before I thought about taking the Rams. That's where I'm at. The Rams are not good. The offense, when it clicks for the Cardinals, is too dynamic. So I like the Cardinals. Tommy's on my side. With this close spread, we feel like it's probably going to be a close game. Vegas thinks that. So, Carl, I don't know. What side are you on?
I'm on the other side. So, I mean, I'm happy to be there by myself as always. I'm never nervous about being on the other side, which I feel like is a good part of, being where I am right now. I take the Rams. You. Yeah, exactly. This like freshly like revitalized, like coming after a win for me. A win of a week last week. Last week when we recorded, I was like I was like, this was me every time like it cut to Tommy or you, and I would like sit back up and you're like, Undertaker Carl's back from the dead. I mean, I think I literally feel like I'm back from the dead this week. So I'm happy to be on the other side. I'm going to take the Rams. It does kind of concern me that the spread's been going down. It started off at like Rams, like now it's down to like 1.5, which is more value for me. But again, it just means the line's going in that direction. I guess Matthew Stafford also is in concussion protocol for no reason. I shouldn't say that. Concussions are serious, but he played the whole game. Played the whole game, and then they were like meeting with medical staff after the fact, and they were like, yeah, maybe he has a concussion. Who knows?
I mean, could be worse. I don't know if they said when they thought it happened, but if it happened in practice this week, probably worse news than if it happened in the game, right? Less time to recover.
Yeah, so I don't know. But I mean, with the concussion protocol being a little bit more strict after all the Tua stuff, it is a little – I do not feel comfortable about it if it's not Matthew Stafford. But if Matthew Stafford's going to play, they've already won – against the Cardinals by 8, I think, earlier in the season. It was a low-scoring game, so I do think that this is going to be like a 20-17 game for the Rams, which does cover the spread for me. And again, if I'm taking this in like real life, I'm probably not even going to lay the 1.5. I might just pay a little bit more to take the Rams straight up because either they, if they win by 1 and I don't cover the spread, I'm going to be really mad. So money line for me, if I do bet it in real life, spread on the podcast, I'm taking the Rams here.
Don't forget that the Cardinals did not have DeAndre Hopkins in that previous game. So just something to think about.
They're also 3-6 regardless. And what's their record since he came back? Like 1-2. And that was the week that they got Andy Dalton in primetime. And not after he didn't have enough time to play Call of Duty at that point because it was released that night.
Also fair. And sorely missing our resident Call of Duty expert here because you and I have no idea if it's a double XP weekend or not. But when you're talking about the 3-6 Cardinals, let's not forget that the Rams are 3-5. Just fun little fact for you: Cardinals have scored 72 more points this season than the Rams have, but they've also allowed like 58 more points. So I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Hopefully it's entertaining for all of us. One of the few games in the afternoon window, but we're on opposite sides of the spread this week. That's why they play the games, Carl, right?
That is why they play the games.
All right. The Cleveland Browns are headed to Miami to take on the aforementioned Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins here are favored by 3.5 points. Total is 49.5. So defense might not be at a premium here. Carl, once again, I think we're going to disagree. So why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Browns here. I do think that this is a very similar situation to the Falcons game that is happening tonight as of us recording. My projection for it, obviously, when the podcast comes out, the game will have already happened. But I think it's going to be a closer game where the Dolphins have a chance of winning. But I'm going to take the Browns to cover the 3.5 points. I think it's going to be a close game, Dolphins 24-23. And again, that could fluctuate a little bit, but I do think it's going to be a close enough game where the Browns either take it by a field goal or less or lose by a field goal or less. So Dolphins by less than a field goal, I'm happy with. I'll take the hook 10 times out of 10. And we're going to ride with the Brownies.
Fair enough. Tommy and I are on the other side. So when I looked at the spreads this week, I thought it was going to be Miami by 4.5 over the Browns. Opened as Miami by 4. So now that it's moved down to 3.5, I like the value even more. But candidly, I would have taken the Dolphins up to a 6-point favorite. That's where the value line was for me. So just only having to lay 3.5 points based on what I feel like is value. I mean, I'm basically getting points in this situation, in this imaginary value, made up value situation. So I like Miami. Tommy's riding with me. So Dolphins only laying 3.5. Let's hope it works out for us and not for Carl, because we just need to make up some ground to the standings. And there's a lot of agreement this week on the podcast. So wherever Tommy and I can gain an edge, admittedly, it's fun when Carl wins a lot of money. But but listen, I like to win too, man. So Carl's, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Save some for you this week. I'll save some ones.
Truly, like, fuck the podcast. I'm just gonna text you separately and be like, okay, what did you actually bet? And I'm probably gonna do the same thing, except literally, people don't know this. Like, every time I ask you, I think you started lying to me now, because like if I bet something, it is like it's cursed. It's gonna lose. Yeah. And how many times this season have I been like, great, I'm gonna go bet that, and you're like, why would you do that to me?
Yeah,
like,
why would you do that?
Like, burn down on your own ship. Don't burn down mine. So I don't know. I don't think you're gonna. I don't like. Listen, if you told me what you bet, there's no way you'd be hitting those 8-leg parlays. So we'll see what happens. Maybe you're nice, maybe you're not. But that's for us to know, and the rest of the world to find out on the podcast.
I'll give a lottery ticket when we do our parlay later on. I'll give a lottery ticket, and if people want to ride with it, go for it. It'll be like plus 15,000 odds.
Amazing. We love a good lottery ticket. It just makes it more fun. All right, let's move on. The Jacksonville Jaguars are headed to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Total here is 51 points. I can lead us off. So Tommy and I agree. We're both taking the Jags. So here's a fun little fact for you for the Jaguars. Every one of their losses has come by 8 or fewer points this season, even against the Eagles, who really might be the best team in football. On the other side, the Chiefs either win huge or they don't cover the spread. They are 0-5 against the spread in what I would call a non-blowout game. I didn't even get the numbers there to be specific, but you know a blowout when you see it. Go like, listen, they played like 8 or 9 games. Go look at their schedule. You're going to see what I'm talking about. 0-5 in non-blowouts. So they either win by a lot or they don't cover. This is a big spread. So I'm going to roll with the Jags. Both sides, the history here just tells me that the line is a little bit too big, and Vegas just knows that you will lay the points because you love Patrick Mahomes. We all love Patrick Mahomes. I love Patrick Mahomes. He's my guy. I picked him to win MVP in the preseason pod, which you may or may not ever hear. Who knows? Teaser, maybe next week. I don't know. Did I say that? I might get shot. I can't say that out loud. Anyway, I'm on the Jags. Tommy's on the Jags, which tells me Carl's probably on the Chiefs.
Yeah, you would think, right? That's usually what happens when we have big spreads, but I'm on the Jags. I love every reason that you gave. I do think that the Chiefs win this game 27-24. And again, I'm not just saying that because that's the over-under line that we have posted. It's what my spreadsheet says. So it's usually, again, it's usually a good sign when it's in line with Vegas. So I'm going to take the points here with Jacksonville, and I'm not going to touch the over-under, but I do feel like if my line is in step with the over-under, then I might be in a good place with the Jaguars covering the spread. So Trevor Lawrence, though, I think he's going to get 250 yards passing, probably because he's going to have to be playing from behind, but give me whatever his passing props are. I think that 250 is a good spot for him, and if you can get way below 250, then you should just jump right on it. If it's at 250, I'm not saying bet the over 250, but I think if you're I'm expecting him to get like 250 yards passing.
Amazing. Love that. Sprinkled full of knowledge here. If you listen to the 3-man rush, you've got a lot of things to bet every week. And if you listen to Carl, you're probably in the green. So good job by you, listener. We appreciate it. All right, let's move on. The Houston Texans are headed to New Jersey to take on the New York Football Giants, who are favored by only 4 points here. I was pretty surprised when I saw this. The over-under is 41. Giants coming off a bye week, too. Only favored by 4 against the lowly Houston Texans. It looks like they're going to get Kenny Golladay back for this game. I don't mind leading us off here because I really thought the Giants should be favored by more. I projected that they would be favored by more. And I like this line really up to 6.5 or even 7 points. Tommy also likes the Giants. So, Carl, what are you thinking?
Yeah, right there with you again, which, again, don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but we're going to find out sooner rather than later. Giants 23-16. That's 7-point spread, covers the 4. And again, it's right where you thought it was going to be also at 6.5, 7. So I do like the Giants in this spot. Saquon Barkley I have as a leading rusher for this week. Again, this is a projected props. It hasn't been tested yet. This is in beta testing. This is the very first week. So if it doesn't work out, I apologize, but I have him leading the league in rushing this week.
Saquon Barkley leading the league in rushing. Take that one. Put it in the books. Take it to the bank. We love it.
This is now a daily fantasy podcast. The one week also where Tommy's not here to contribute.
I know. It's like his favorite thing to do is give you a little prop action. He loves it. He's a big DraftKings daily fantasy guy too.
True.
Oh man, poor Tommy. All right, let's move on because it's your Denver Broncos, Carl, headed to Tennessee to take on Mike Vrabel's Titans, where the wide receivers did not record a catch and still nearly beat the Chiefs last week. Pretty crazy. Titans favored by 2.5 points. Over under is 36.5. I guess I'm not surprised because neither of these teams can really score. I'll tell you what, I like the Titans. Tommy's right there with me. But I do think it's going to be close. Like if the Titans were laying any more points, I'd probably lean into the Broncos, which is why I'm looking at something like a little teaser with the Broncos and the over. So we can drop that over down just to 30.5. Means both teams have to score 16 points. I think that's manageable. I hope that's manageable. With the Broncos, you never know. But that would give the Broncos 8.5 points. And then you only have to hit 31 total points in the game. I don't know, Carl, I feel like that kind of plays into what you want to talk about here. So who are you picking?
Yeah, so this is an interesting game. I'm going to take the Broncos because they're getting points here. My projection has this game 16-16. So is it going to end in a tie? What? Crazy. I'm not betting that.
Wait. So last week I wanted to bet the push.
Yeah, you did.
This week, should we bet the tie? It's got to be like plus 1,000.
I don't know if betting a tie is good, or maybe if you want to like bet it to go to overtime, that might be like a fun little bet. Because once it goes to overtime, I mean, one score it's over. It could be a field goal. You got to hope that they like stall out, miss field goals, terrible drives. But I wouldn't be opposed to putting something on the overtime. That'd be fun to root for. You know,
always.
Definitely looking at the under here. Denver games tend to go under. I feel like Tennessee also. Both teams play really good defense. I'm going to guess it's a boring game to watch. And again, at 16-16 with my spread, that's what, a touchdown and 3 field goals for each team, give or take, unless, you know, other things happen. But, I mean, maybe looking at some kicker props in this game. I don't know. That's the only thing that's going to be happening in this game is nothing happening at all is what I'm thinking. So I'm going to take the Broncos and the points. You know, I'm not thrilled about it, but again, more so looking at like a low scoring game for this one.
For the record, if you can get the three-way money line here to bet a tie, bet the draw, plus 6,000 odds.
Plus 6,000 to end in a tie. Is there will this game go into overtime line?
Probably. I just haven't found it yet. We'll toss that out on Instagram at 3Man Rush if we find it. But yeah, plus 6,000 to end in a tie. You know, I think every week I just need a ridiculous bet. That's not my pick. I'm picking the Titans. I'm not going to pick the tie this week. I was just so disgusted in having to talk about the Raiders that I had to bet the push last week. Didn't work out for me. Almost worked out for me until it didn't. And as we know, only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. But either way, it sounds like Carl's projection, Carl Stradamus looking at the tie here. So maybe the end regulation at a tie to go into overtime. That could be your special little prop.
Will this game go into overtime? Is plus 850.
Amazing.
If you can't afford $10 to just throw at this to win 85, I mean,
what are you doing?
You should listen to this podcast more because we could definitely.
Carl can win you some money. And when you text those 3 friends and say, hey, listen to this podcast, also be like, hey, by the way, could you Venmo me like coffee money today? And then take that coffee money from those 3 friends.
Exactly.
And put it on this game plus 850 to go to overtime. You can pay them back and get a coffee and have a little bit of money left over for next week's bets. So You're welcome for that one. At 3Man Rush. Follow us on Instagram. Follow, subscribe. Everywhere that you listen to podcasts. You're welcome. You're welcome, America. Amazing. All right, let's move on. The Detroit Lions, fresh off their victory against the Green Bay Packers, are headed to Chicago to take on the Bears, who are 2.5-point favorites. Total here is 48.5 points. And don't look now, but the Bears look competitive at the very least. I don't want to say good. Good feels like it might be too strong, but they look competitive. So I don't know. Only laying 2.5 points. I don't like ever betting on the Bears, even though they look better. But laying 2.5 against the Lions, I don't feel too bad about that. So I'm going to go with the Bears this week. I believe Tommy's going to also take the Bears with us. So,
yep.
Carl, is it going to be a clean sweep? How do we feel?
Clean sweep right across the board. Give us all the Bears. The Bears.
Amazing.
That's a bear. So we're going Bears 25, Lions 22. That's 3 points. It is cutting it close, but with a 2.5 spread. We're gonna take that. It's it could go more than that, but we're not in the business of picking the exact score unless we do. So Bears minus 2.5. I'm gonna take those points. I'll lay them. I'll lay those points. We've been on a lot of the same sides this week. All of us, not just like me and you. Or we had a lot of games this week where it's all three of us. So
I feel like I'm about to have my best week, and I made my picks like before the podcast. I changed up the whole thing. If it works this week, like I
watch
said,
out.
It's over for you bitches because Pat is back. Okay. But maybe not yet. We'll see what happens on Sunday. All right, moving on. The New Orleans Saints, 1.5-point favorites when they head to Pittsburgh to take on the Man Family Steelers. Total in this one is 40 points. And I think it's going to be another sad, sorry Sunday for my dear friend, Kayla Quilty, man, your dear wife. Do you want to break the news? Do you want to talk about it? Everything's fine in your marriage, but we just don't like your Steelers this week.
Yeah, this game does make me nervous because the line has moved a little bit closer to the middle, which means there could be money on the Steelers. I did tell her, no, don't bet the push. Don't bet the tie. I told Kay though, when you added your picks to the doc when we were doing it earlier, I told her that this might be the week for the Steelers to win because you picked you picked the Saints.
Oh man, hate that for me.
But I did tell her that I also picked the Saints, so we're all riding the Saints. Me, you, Tommy. I got the Saints 23-18, which again, 41 total points. The over/under is 40, pretty close to that number. Saints, I got them winning by 5, so I'll lay the 1.5 points.
Wonderful. All right, let's move right along because the now coachless interim coach led by Jeff Saturday, the Indianapolis Colts are headed to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders, where the Raiders, Josh McDaniels' Raiders, are favored by nearly a touchdown, 5.5 points. Total here is 41.5. I don't understand this. I get that, I don't know, Jonathan Taylor's been hurt. They just lost their coach. But the Raiders by 5.5 doesn't check out for me. It feels like this is a good spot for the Colts to kind of rally around their new interim coach. And I don't know, maybe we get Matt Ryan back because Frank Reich is not there. It sounds like Jonathan Taylor is going to play. If all the stars align here and you get a team whose coach just got fired, nobody believes in us to go take on the Raiders who haven't been able to figure anything out. I mean, you got to be on the Colts too, right?
Me?
No? Yeah, you.
Of course. I thought you were talking to Tommy for a second.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Tommy, what do you think? Tommy also likes the Colts.
Tommy likes the Colts. You like the Colts. Yeah, I like the Raiders, but only by 5. So with that hook, I'm going to go Colts.
Wow. All right. Another clean sweep. 3 in a row to end the pod.
I know. That's what I was saying is we're just all on the same page this week. So
Wow.
We did have a Fade the Three-Man Rush podcast. We were the Fraudcast for a little bit. We have gotten a little bit better on our picks. We have gotten a little bit better. But I'm going to take the Colts. Raiders do win, I think, but less than 5.5, maybe 5 even. So what did I say? 21-16. That's my prediction.
So. All right.
21-16.
Lovely. Well, with that, we have made our way around the NFL. That's every game this week, folks. Only 4 teams on bye: the Patriots, the Jets, the Bengals, and the Ravens, I believe. So that means it is now time for our best bets of the week. And you know what's crazy, Carl? You had a 10-win week, and you still lost your best bet last week. Unbelievable.
It pushed.
All right. Fair enough. It pushed. You're right. Because you had the Chargers by 3, so it pushed. And I have petitioned for pushes to be wins, mostly because I need every win that I could get, and that would add 5 to my total this season. Fun. We've all, like every push, we've all been, well, of course, if the game pushes, we're all going to get it. Anyway, that was dumb. So you had the Chargers, that pushed. I had the Bills by 13, that lost. Tommy had the Vikings by 3.5, and they won by 3. Tough loss on the hook there. Which means nobody gained any ground. You were talking about, do you gain anything in the standing? So you and Tommy have 3. I have 2. I don't know how we're going to handle this because you pushed, but you didn't win, right? So like we usually add like a tie to our win-loss draw column for our overall record, but I guess not a win is not a point in the best bets. Is that how we have to handle this?
I think so. Yeah. I would say, yeah. Tough. I mean, I didn't lose, but
tough for you. You didn't lose, but you didn't win either.
I did say, however, my dollar bill island bets, if you just bet those, you'd be winning. And I think I went 3 for 3 last week on my potential islands, and the ones that hit, I was 3 for 3.
You did do pretty good on those islands. All right. So I guess we're going to move right along into our best bets for week 10. I'm happy to lead us off here. I am first this week. I think we love this one because we all agreed on it. It's the New York Giants, only laying 4 points against one of the worst teams in the league this year, the Texans. They're at home. The Giants are, and the Giants are coming off a bye. I don't understand why this line is so low. So I'm going to roll with the Giants. We talked about it. Tommy is up next, and we got his pick before the podcast. He's running with the Saints. So apologies to Kayla. I think he actually apologized in the text message, but he's running with the Saints as well. Saints by 1.5. We just covered that one. So we'll leave it at that. Carl, I think this is, we don't all agree on this one, but what's your best bet this week?
Right. The reason why I chose it is because I'm by myself on an island, and I'm taking the Rams. I'm taking the Rams minus 1.5. Until Kyler Murray can prove that he can win after Call of Duty comes out, I'm gonna bet against him, I think, for most of the weeks. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but I'm gonna be by myself here. I mean, I could lose it, but I could win it.
Good luck to you. Good luck to you with the Rams. Yeah, gambling, right? Love that. All right. Well, we've made our way around the NFL. We've given you our best bets of the week, which means it's on. You know what time it is. So there's no Tommy this week, but we're gonna make up for that. The DJ, spin that trap. Let's go. It's the double Tommy.
We should, Photoshop like Tommy just in the corner, just from last week.
Woo, yeah. Finger dance. Let's go. All right. It's the week 10 parlay. Parlay Partay, people. I can talk. Listen, after last week, I probably had no business even giving you picks this week. And after Carl's 8-leg parlay cash, I don't even know if I should give you a parlay. In fact, I know that I shouldn't. So I have one, but Carl, you teased us with that lottery ticket. So do you want that, or do you want my this is awful for me. Like, I've got an underdog parlay of the week this week, which is probably pretty dangerous for me considering my awful record. So what do you want to do first?
We can do your parlay first. Although mine probably has a better chance of hitting, let's be honest.
You're going to have 27 legs and hit it, and I've got 3. I'm going to fucking lose all of them.
You go yours first. I'll go mine second because my payout is ridiculous.
Okay. So as I mentioned, underdog parlay this week. Carl's not going to fully agree with it. Actually, not going to maybe agree with it at all. So I took the Cardinals money line here because I just can't believe that they're getting points. I just think they're the better team right now. The Rams stink. The Colts, we just talked about that one. Getting 5.5, depending on your book, what you're looking at. And then the Vikings, the Bills might not have Josh Allen. So if you can still get them getting points, like once Josh Allen's out, I think that moves down probably to a pick 'em at least, maybe 1.5. So get those points while you can. So Cardinals money line, Vikings money line, and the Colts +5. That gives us +878 odds. Pretty good value for just 3 things to hit. That's my underdog parlay of the week.
Hell yeah. All right. This is listed as 5 legs on here, but it's technically 6 things because one of them is a combination money line and under. So I would kind of consider that maybe 2 things. But here's my 5/6 pick parlay. $50 to win over 19,000. This is a lottery ticket. This is a lottery ticket.
We love it. We love it. Let's go.
You could do $5 and win almost $2,000. So you don't have to bet 50. This is just what I just said on here. Bears to win by 1-6, which is +320. So they have to win by 1-6. If they win by 7, you don't win. Dolphins by 1-6, +325. 49ers by 1-6, which I know you don't agree with because you bet 49ers covering 7 or more. But for me, I thought the 49ers were going to win but not cover. So 49ers by 1-6 +325. Then we've got under 37.5 in the Broncos Titans game. That is -110. And the Eagles to win and the under 44.5. So Eagles have to win and that game has to go under 44.5. That is +120. So it is 6 total things, technically, if you want to consider it line by line. But for me, the Eagles and the under is like combined as a line because it was like combined spread. So $50 gets you almost 20,000.
And what are the odds on that? Almost 20,000. But like, what's the number?
So I boosted it. So yeah. So I guess unboosted, it's plus 31,762 odds. I teased it. I said it was going to be plus like 15,000 odds. I was half of that.
Yeah, you doubled it. That's a money-making lottery ticket. If it hits, I might have to put a couple of Skittles on that, maybe some cranberries myself.
Yeah. Highly unlikely. That's not necessarily a win. But if you're looking for a lottery ticket, you got like, a couple bucks free bets sitting around and you want to just throw it at some things. I mean, you don't have to do all of those. You can combine a couple that you like. You could take some out, put some in, whatever you want.
You can create a dollar on it and make a little bit of money. So it's just fun. Just a lottery ticket, right? Powerball, Carl's parlay of the week. Same difference. Same difference. Yeah. 2 billion, 2,000, not 20,000, just a couple zeros. We love it. We love to see it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for us this week. So for our dear friend Tommy, who could not join us, you know who I am. I'm the annoying host. I'm Pat. Tell your friends about us. Pick a couple friends. Pick a couple moms. They're going to love the show. I guess, Tom, on behalf of Tommy, good luck at your sports books, people.
New mic, ASMR Carl. Hopefully this sounds good.
Best week ever. Coming up with that.
Best week ever.
You sound so good. Oh my God. Wow.
Oh, we should start a podcast.
we should start a podcast. ASMR. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.